thank you for joining me here at Why the Book Wins. My name is Laura, and today I am sharing my favorite books that are under 300 pages. And I chose under 300 pages because I feel like when a book is under 300 pages, it's just a very doable page count, right? Like it's not daunting. It's not going to be a super time-consuming read. It's one you can get through pretty quick. And even if you don't end up liking the book, at least it didn't take a long time to read, right? And this one won a poll that I posted, so it was either under 300 page book recommendations or over 500 page books that I love. And the under 300 won just barely. So definitely subscribe to my YouTube channel so you can take part in future polls that I post. And don't forget to like this video and comment down below if you have read any of these and what are some short books that you love. And I actually have quite a few books here to talk about. So let's just get right into it. Starting, oh, by the way, I have my Halloween decorations up. Also, I feel like I'm starting to get sick. Sorry if my voice is rough. But anyway, my Halloween decorations are up. I'm not like obsessed with how it looks. It's not quite what I wanted, but it will have to do for this year. Next year, hopefully I'll just be able to decorate better. Anyway, the first one is very Halloween appropriate, October appropriate, and that is Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. So, and obviously with page count, the page count varies based on the edition. But with all of these, I feel like unless it's super big font, all of these, regardless of the edition they're printed in, are going to be under 300 pages. So this one right here, for example, this is an illustrated edition, and yet it is still only 244 pages. So Frankenstein is surprisingly short. But I feel like Frankenstein almost needs no introduction. It is about a man who is obsessed with creating life himself, and his pride gets the best of him, and then he creates a monster. Or is he the monster? That's the real question. Anyway, this one is so good, gives you a lot to think about, and it's also one of those books where I feel like, you know, the actions of Frankenstein, you just get so frustrated with him, right? But like in a good way, that keeps you intrigued and wanting to keep reading. But yeah, really good. I will be rereading this one soon. Really excited to get to it. Really excited to watch the Robert De Niro, Kenneth Branagh movie. I've seen that once, but it was a long time ago. So anyway, highly recommend this one. Another one is also kind of appropriate for Halloween season, and that is The Picture of Dorian Gray. This one is a beautiful illustrated edition. And again, even though it has illustrations, it is still only 248 pages. This one is, of course, the ageless story. Get it? Ageless, because Dorian doesn't age. Anyway, Dorian Gray makes a bargain, makes a promise, a pact to never age, and instead his portrait that is painted will be the one that ages. And not only does he not age, he also like keeps this pure, innocent look about him, and despite all the evil things he does. And so the evil things he does are shown on like the sneer that his painting has, right? So it's not just about his age, it's also just about the way your countenance changes when you're an evil person, right? So anyway, such a great book, incredible. It's a classic for a reason, highly recommend. I've read it twice and I'm already itching to read it a third time, which by the way, I posted a video of favorite books that I've read twice, and this one was on that one as well. So you can check that video if you want. I also have at least one other book on here that was also in that video. So I don't want this to be too repetitive, but anyway, read Dorian Gray. And then we have Kindred by Octavia Butler. This one is my Folio Society edition. And again, it's illustrated, but still under 300 pages, 277. And this was the first sci-fi novel written by a Black woman because it involves time travel. There is no other sci-fi aspect, it's just the time travel. But anyway, it is about a woman, a Black woman who is connected to this white man from the 1800s. And this connection they have causes her to keep being pulled back into the past, but then she will also like be pulled back into the future, present day, which is in the 70s. And yeah, so it's about her living in the past, coming back to the future. And in the past, slavery is happening, and she is a Black woman, so she becomes a slave when she goes back into the past times. And so it can be hard to read because of that. Any book involving slavery can be hard to read. However, this is definitely one I would recommend. I think this would be a good one for teenagers to read as well, because even though there are difficult scenes, there's nothing like overly graphic. I mean, yeah, it's still a good one for teenagers, basically is what I'm saying. And yeah, it is such a page turner and I highly recommend it. Then we have Ordinary People by Judith Guest. This is my first edition copy, and it is 261 pages. This one, again, I want to do a book versus movie for because the movie is incredible, but it is about a family. As you can tell in the picture, they the son dies. And so it is about the parents and the remaining son, the living son, and their life after experiencing this loss and how it changes them. And oh my gosh, it's so good. The movie is incredible too. Like, I cannot recommend the movie enough. And the book is amazing. This is one of those books where I remember reading it at one point and I just felt so transported, and I was just there with these characters. And I love that when the world around you just falls away and you are just in the moment with the book you're reading with these people. So yeah, love this book so much. Highly recommend. And then the Stepford Wives. This one is 145 pages. Very short, not demanding at all. Very quick read. And it is so good. I feel like everybody knows what the Stepford Wives is about, right? And Don't Worry, Darling came out recently, and I haven't seen it, but I know it's like a very Stepford Wives-ish movie. But anyway, it's about a woman who moves into a town with her husband and their kids, and all the women in the town act very strange and are like the ideal woman, quote unquote, and she wants to get to the bottom of it. And why do the men have this weird men's association? What's going on? Yeah, so good. Really love it. The 2004 movie is okay, but definitely made some changes. This one, by the way, was my first ever Book First Movie podcast episode I did 2 years ago. I did it on the Stepford Wives. And yeah, really love the book. Highly recommend. Next up is If Beale Street Could Talk. This one is only 197 pages, very short. This was on my video of books that I've read twice. I read this one like only a few months apart, and I loved it both times. The narration, the audiobook is narrated by Bonnie Turpin, one of the best audiobooks I've ever listened to. Highly recommend. But it is just beautiful, and I talk about this one a lot. I don't want to like talk about it too much for people who are watching this video that have watched past videos of mine. I don't want to bore you by talking about this one more, but highly, highly recommend. It is about the racial injustice, systematic racism in the 1970s, but it still applies today. And it's also about the romance between Fonny and Tish and just the beautiful love that they have and their families. And Fonny has been arrested, and so it's about these families coming together, but also falling apart due to this arrest that has happened and what it means to Tish, the girlfriend, and beautifully written. Like, James Baldwin's prose are just incredible. Highly recommend. And yeah, it's just a fantastic book. And then we have I'm Thinking of Ending Things by Ian Reid. This is 210 pages. I read this one in 2020, so it's been a little while, but I want to give it a reread. It gives you so much to think about. Like, it's short, but it's not dense. Like, you can read it fairly quick because it is one that keeps you engaged and you're like, what the heck is going on? I want to keep reading. I want to get to the bottom of this. I will say, if you struggle with depression, this could trigger your depression, so I wouldn't recommend it. And it actually made me feel kind of depressed while I was reading it and a few days after, and that's why I've been hesitant to reread it. But I feel like if I reread it, I'll know what I'm getting myself into, right? Whereas the first time I didn't. So I want to warn you so that you won't be like me, not knowing what you're getting into, that this can trigger depression if it is something you've struggled with. But it's such an interesting book though. Like I said, it gives you so much to think about. And that's why I want to reread it, is because there's just so many interesting topics discussed in this book. Memory, relationships, depression. But yeah, it is about this couple who have not been dating long, but they're taking a drive to go visit his parents she's meeting his parents for the first time. And then after the parents, they on their way back home, they stop at his old school, and it gets a little creepy at the end. But overall, I just loved it so much because, one, it was a page turner and I wanted to know what was happening, and two, very thought-provoking. And I actually really do like the movie adaptation too. It's different. I mean, it stays true to the spirit of the book, and yeah, I actually quite liked it. So next up is Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, which I just looked at this particular book, and it is actually over 300 pages. But I could have sworn the first book was under 300. Let me check my other edition and see. Yeah, okay, so this edition, 223 pages. This one is 310 pages. By the way, this is my Hufflepuff book. I have my Hufflepuff editions because I am a Hufflepuff and proud of it. Anyway. But Harry Potter, the first Harry Potter book, is very short, not under 200 pages, under 300 pages though. Obviously, if you get hooked on this, you end up reading all of the following books, which is the time commitment, but I'm including this anyway because, you know, it's Harry Potter. And the first book is just so fun, and I love the world J.K. Rowling creates, and I love the characters, and I absolutely love the whole series, of course. And yeah, I read this for the first time, end of 2019, and then I finished it beginning of 2020, and I just fell in love. I got it. I know why people are so obsessed with Harry Potter. I don't actually have much Harry Potter merch, but I would like to buy more. And I have a Harry Potter book collection, which I should do a video showing off my Harry Potter books. I don't own all of the editions like this though. I'm in the process of buying all of them. Anyway, does Harry Potter even need to be talked about as far as what it's about? He's a wizard. And just the world of Hogwarts too, like when she's just describing what they're doing, and it's not like moving the plot forward, it's just like world building and just experiencing that world. I just love it so much. And yeah, anyway, highly recommend. And then next up is a book I feel like I don't talk enough about, and that is Nightmare Alley by William Lindsay Gresham. This one has a horrible glare, sorry. It is 275 pages. I did a book first movie for this, comparing it with the movie that came out last year, 2021. I also compared it with the 1947 movie. I like both adaptations. The Guillermo del Toro movie, though, is incredible. Beautiful, like, cinematography, incredible acting, faithful to the book for the most part, while also incorporating things from the 47 movie. And then I cannot talk about that movie without talking about the ending, because the last 10 minutes, oh my gosh, like, it is incredible. It is so, so good. I have watched that clip repeatedly just because I love it so much. But the whole movie, very good. And like the movie, the book is a bit of a slow burn, but then the ending of the book is just as good as the ending of the movie. It's incredible. It is sad, but so good. And it is about the downfall, basically, of this man who becomes a carny. He works in this carnival, and he likes it because it basically makes him feel better than the people, because he's like he takes part in like this mind reading type thing. They're not actually reading people's minds, of course, but basically he feels so superior to people and thinking how people are such idiots for believing this. And then from the carnival, he moves on to just grow even more and take even more advantage of people in other ways. And it gets out of control. And like I said, it leads to his downfall, but it is so good. Highly recommend, book and movie. And yeah, I loved it. It's also an interesting look into the carnival and kind of a sad look too, but yeah, anyway, highly recommend. And then we have Annihilation by Jeff Vandermeer. Again, this one, like Harry Potter, this one is part of a series. So if you get hooked on this one, you will want to read the next two books. The next two books are all under 400 pages though. So they're like in the 350 page range, whereas this one is under 200. It is 195 pages. But Jeff Vandermeer is such a unique author. I mean, I'm sure there's other books that are similar to his writing, but as far as books that I've read, his writing is so unique. It's so bizarre. It's so weird. It's so vivid. It's so creepy. It's like nothing like I've read before. But Annihilation is the first book in the Southern Reach trilogy, and is about a group of women who are part of this expedition that go to explore Area X. And Area X is this area that has appeared out of nowhere. Like they think some alien life form or something has like taken over this area, and weird things are happening there. And they keep sending expeditions into it to figure it out. So it is about this biologist and the expedition she is part of as they explore Area X. And again, just so fascinating, so bizarre, so good. And the movie is really good too, Natalie Portman, but the movie is very different. So if you've seen the movie, you can read the book, and the movie won't be a spoiler because the books are very different. Both are incredible though, but yeah, anyway, highly recommend. Then we have a book that I have talked about so much, so I will keep it short here, but that is The Power of the Dog by Thomas Savage. This one is only 275 pages, and it's a great character analysis, and the events, the people just feel so real. You are so drawn into the events, and the ending is amazing. And yeah, I think my favorite thing about it were the characters, where they just felt so real and they were so fleshed out. And then the ending too was just amazing. Highly recommend. It's about two rancher cowboys in the 1920s, I want to say. And one of them gets married, and the guy does not like his new sister-in-law. And the sister-in-law has a son from a previous marriage, and he doesn't like the son either. And so it is about the drama that ensues. And yeah, so good. Can't recommend it enough. The movie with Benedict Cumberbatch and Kirsten Dunst and Cody Smith-McPhee is also amazing. Yeah, that's all I'll say, but it's amazing. And the last two books are true stories. The first one is a book I have never talked about on this channel before, and that is Painfully Rich by John Pearson. And this is about the Getty family, specifically J. Paul Getty, but it's about his posterity as well. And I love books like that, where it's like a saga, a family saga about this one man and what his actions caused to happen to his posterity, basically. There was a movie, All the Money in the World, with Mark Wahlberg and Michelle Williams, I think, and Christopher Plummer. But that just goes into one aspect of the Getty life, of the Getty family, and that is when J. Paul Getty's grandson is kidnapped in Italy and they want a ransom, but J. Paul Getty like refuses to pay the ransom because he was not a feeling man. And yeah, this book goes into him and his personality, and again, his actions and what it led and what it caused his children to be like, and their actions and their grandchildren. And yeah, if you live in LA, Santa Monica, there are 2 different Getty museums. And so those museums are all full of the artwork that he collected when he was alive. He was incredibly super, super rich. And all his artwork was put into those 2 museums, which I've been to both. And the one in LA is bigger, but yeah, pretty cool. Anyway, I read this back in like 2017 or 18 when that movie came out. But there is so much more to this family than just what is shown in that movie, and it was fascinating. And yeah, I highly recommend it. Last up is the memoir, The Glass Castle by Jeanette Walls. And this is about Jeanette's childhood primarily because she was raised by 2 incompetent parents who struggled with addictions and were not very responsible. And so it's about her childhood as she lived with them and what she experienced and her siblings. And it's also about her relationship with her dad in particular because she was really close to her dad. And so it's interesting because you can tell that she loved her dad and especially, but her parents, but she also, isn't sugarcoating things and she's laying it out as it is while also not being like in a pity party kind of way. She doesn't go into her adulthood as much as I would have liked because her and the majority of her siblings actually like turned out pretty well considering their dysfunctional childhood. They became like functional adults somehow. So I wish she would have gone more into that, right? Because when you have like an abusive childhood and when you're raised by parents who are just such poor examples, and like I feel like you go into adulthood at such a disadvantage, right? To just be a healthy human being because you don't know how to because you never had any good examples, right? But yeah, she doesn't really get into that. She doesn't talk about therapy or anything really. So even so, I would still recommend it. It is only 288 pages, and I do have a book first movie for this. If you want to hear me talk about this one more in depth, I will link to that one. And that wraps it up for the books that I would recommend that are under 300 pages. Let me know if you have read any of these. Let me know if you would recommend them as well. Let me know, like I said, books that you love that are short and quick reads. And thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye.